meat completely changed my life about 6 years ago. I went from being a vegetarian to a vegan. At the time, I was outraged about the lack of autonomy women had over their reproductive rights. And this book helped me realise that this was also happening to animals and their bodies in the egg and dairy industry.
The sexual politics of meat means to me so much. It means making connections that you've never made before, which I've never made before. Connections between women's oppression, gay rights, animal rights, the civil rights movement.
The sexual politics of meat has changed my life profoundly, both on a professional level and on a personal level. On a professional level, it has changed the way I look at the meat industry, it has changed the way I look at meat advertising. It has opened my eyes for the interconnectedness of the oppression of women and animals, and it inspired my academic writings and eventually led to my PhD in 2002 on anthropocentrism and speciesism in criminology. On a personal level, it was one of the books that inspired me to go vegetarian in the mid-1990s, and later on it works as an incentive to take my personal commitment one step further and eventually to go vegan.
The sexual politics of meat informs much of my work for various reasons. The most important, I had an argument with a friend of mine about 3 years ago, another vegan, and he argued with me. He said that speciesism was the most important form of bigotry that one might encounter. He said that no one else was being consumed or eaten by racism or sexism or homophobia, and given our limited amount of time, we should focus our attention solely on animal rights. I've been vegan for 3 years and vegetarian for a year before that, so at the time I was wholly unprepared to rebut that argument. So I began to search for texts which might help me, come back to my friend and have a discussion with him about this, and that's when I discovered The Sexual Politics of Meat. And it is, to date, the only text that I can find which wants to highlight the link between the oppressions of various members of our society, namely women and animals. And this is important. What's more, The Sexual Politics of Meat argues that actually, despite what my friend may have believed, women are consumed by sexism, or any minority by racism or homophobia, although not in a literal way, a figurative one, and we can argue that that's just as important.
The Sexual Politics of Meat changed my life. When I read it back in, I want to say probably 1999, it has shaped my scholarship, it has shaped my life. I am currently the author of 2 books, one that's forthcoming and one that already exists, one on J.M. Coetzee, South African writer, and another on environmental post-colonial theory. And I reference the sexual politics of meat in both of these works.
Eating animals acts as mirror and representation of patriarchal values. Meat eating is the re-inscription of male power at every meal. The patriarchal gaze sees not the fragmented flesh of dead animals, but appetizing food. Vegetarian activities counter patriarchal consumption and challenge the consumption of death. Feminist vegetarian activity declares that an alternative worldview exists, one which celebrates life rather than consuming death, one which does not rely on resurrected animals, but empowered people.
When I started looking into literature on the relationships between humans and other animals in the mid-1990s, I soon came across The Sexual Politics of Meat as being one of the standard works in the field.
I have been a vegetarian since I was about 17, and I'm 39 years old now. I had an eating disorder for about 10 years of my life, and reading The Sexual Politics of Meat actually helped me to reconceive of my relationship with food so that I could actually use food and diet as a way of empowering myself as opposed to a way of being disempowered. by food and diet and body image.
Thinking that just because you eat meat, or it's free range, or it's cage-free, that you're not causing oppression. What we eat has a major impact on a lot of things in the world, on how we see the world and how we see things. And I think that's really important to understand.
In the text, there's an impulse to say that all oppressions are shared oppressions. That we demonize certain aspects of humanity as animalistic necessarily requires us to look at the mythologies that we have concerning animality and humanity.
When I first read Sexual Politics of Meat, when I heard Carol Adams' presentation on the sexual politics of meat, it was life-changing, and it changed my life forever. And I think it has a major impact on me, and it has made me connect the dots.
It's an insightful and eloquent analysis of how ghettoized members of society must use their shared oppression as an instrument for change.
And understand that oppression is not only, animals dying. Also, we need to connect the dots and worry about women's rights as well. But we don't have to have one without the other. And, all are important.
Thank you, Carol Adams, for helping me make this link, and today I'm proud to call myself a vegan feminist.
So I would really like to thank Carol Adams for this very important work, and I wish her well. With love, from Belgium.
I can't probably tell you enough about how much it has changed my life. I use it in my teaching, I use it in my scholarship, and I think about it often in my daily life when I'm reflecting on the choices I make, on the sexual politics of the media, of just American culture in general.
Sexual Politics of Meat changed my life. I hope that you read it, you love it, you pick through, you underline, you talk about it. It is very important to get the word out about sexual politics of meat and how important it is, and life-changing.